March comes in like a lion and out like a lamb. April showers, spring May flowers, spring fever. What do they all have in common? Well, they are folksy sayings that in some ways are rooted in meteorological truth. We're talking about the end of sweater weather and the start of planting season, hiking season, and severe weather season in the Tennessee Valley. It's the rites of spring next on Emily Explains. Meteorological spring began March the 1st here in the Tennessee Valley, but you're probably confused why we talk about two different springs. Well, I'm going to break those down for you right now. We do have meteorological spring, which this is mainly for meteorologists. That's where we track averages and compare statistics, and that's how we get those spring averages that you see. So we take all of the data from the months of March, April, and May. We also have astronomical spring, which is March the 20th through about June the 20th. This is going to be based on the position of Earth relative to the sun. So I mentioned we talk about statistics through meteorological spring. Here I've got our average sunset times and our average high temperatures that you see. And notice it will start to trend warmer, of course, heading into May. So at the beginning, which is right now, we usually see high temperatures in the low 60s. But as we progress through March, by the end of March, average high temperatures usually running in the low 70s, and will stay in the low 70s until we get to about the ending of April. That's when we'll start to see high temperatures trend more towards that 80-degree temperature. And then we will be seeing average high temperatures in the 80s once we get into May. Now, the sunset times will become later as well. Obviously, we've got daylight saving time that's going to be beginning, and notice the sunset time between March the 1st, which is when meteorological spring began, and March the 15th. We go from 5:42 sunset to 6:54. And of course, sunset time's going to get later in the day as we progress through meteorological spring. With the beginning of spring, that also means that daylight saving time will begin. You're going to want to set your clocks ahead 1 hour before going to bed Saturday, March the 8th, because time will officially change at 2 a.m. Central Standard Time Sunday, March the 9th, which also happens to be my birthday. Sunrise on Saturday is going to be right around 6:05 with a 5 o'clock sunset right around 5:48. But once the time changes and we spring forward, sunrise on Sunday is going to be right around 7:04 a.m. with a sunset time of 6:49 in the evening. So we're going to notice those sunset times will gradually become later as we move throughout the spring season. The amount of daylight Huntsville will gain is about 2 hours and 18 minutes. This is from the very first day of spring until about the first day of summer. Now, the spring season officially starts at 4:01 Central Standard Time, March the 20th. Our sunrise that day is going to be 6:49 with a sunset time of 6:58. So you probably are wondering what the difference is between meteorological and the actual spring season. Well, first and foremost, we get our seasons from Earth's tilt. The Earth is tilted on its axis at about 23.5 degrees. So as I mentioned, the tilt is what gives us the different season. So the vernal equinox, that is what's going to be spring. It begins March the 20th. This is when the axis is neither tilted toward or away from the sun. We will also be seeing equal amounts of daylight and darkness at all latitudes. So what's the difference between an equinox and a solstice? Well, equinoxes is where we see the equal amount of daylight and darkness versus a solstice, which is the change of length of daylight and the length of darkness. Well, you're probably wondering when a good time would be to plant any sort of plants outdoors. These are our averages for our last freeze and our last hard freeze here in Huntsville. Our last freeze usually occurs around April the 1st, and that's where we see temperatures that are going to be at or below 32 degrees. Our last hard freeze usually occurs right around March the 17th, and a hard freeze is when we usually see temperatures at or below 28 degrees. Do April showers really bring May flowers? Well, in some areas that are areas, especially with a temperate climate, April does actually bring more rainfall because of the spring weather patterns. Warmer temperatures and higher moisture levels, which is what we see here in the Tennessee Valley, they can lead to rain showers, which then will supply the needed water for plants and flowers to bloom in May. So here's our average spring rainfall totals for March, April, and May, which, if you remember, that is meteorological spring. We usually see around 5 inches of rainfall in March, just a little shy of 5 inches in April, and just a little over 4.5 inches for May, with a total of just shy of 15 inches of accumulation if we're averaging the months of March, April, and May.
We know you're busy. Maybe you can't catch Fox 54 News every day. That's why we created the Fox 54 Week in Review. It's the only place to get all local news coverage from the past week, condensed into a single weekly program.
In Madison.
In Huntsville.
But what was interesting about this tornado?
Biggest story happening in the world of sport.
New episodes run Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, and watch on your schedule on demand right here on Fox 54 Plus.
Well, the spring season comes with a lot here in the Tennessee Valley, one of those being allergies. You're probably wondering when we're going to start to see that yellow stuff floating around in the air. Well, late February into early March, that's when we're going to notice tree pollen become more prominent, specifically oak, elm, and maple. Late spring into early summer, that's when we'll start to see that grass pollen, specifically Bermuda and ryegrass. Late summer into fall, that's when we will see the weed pollen, specifically from ragweed. It also comes with a hummingbird migration. Notice the charts here. We potentially will be seeing hummingbirds early April for the extreme northern portion of the Tennessee Valley, mid to the end of March for the rest of the Tennessee Valley. So we also will be getting ready to see the hummingbirds arrive. Now, we also deal with severe weather season here in the Tennessee Valley. The spring severe weather season is our more dominant. That's when we usually see the most tornadoes throughout the year. So March, April, and May, that's where we really look for that severe weather season. So you want to tune in and stay with us until the end of March, because we will be having a severe weather special that's going to be from the Fox 54 Weather Impact Team.